Welcome to Rollout Therapeutic Hub, where human wellness and regular living is our utmost concern. I am your regular anchor and chief therapist, Dr. Tunji Abiola. Today, I'm excited to have you around for this well packaged session. Of course, it is a continuation of the maiden session of this program. Uh, I I used to say, I trust God that we are not going to leave this interaction the same way we have come. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to Rollout Therapeutic TV for more exciting sessions. I'm going to be continuing this very session with the topic that I started with last week, and that is the dynamics of human behavior. Today, essentially, I want us to look at those dynamics because I briefly mentioned that human behavior is predicated on three important dynamics. In other words, three important dynamics. Dynamics of behavior are the factors that stimulate change in human behavioral pattern. And essentially, there are three of them. Three of them. And these three I want to critically examine today. The first of such dynamics that I mentioned last week was the biological dynamics. Biological dynamics. And what is that? And these are the various biological factors regulating human behavior. The answer to the questions of why of certain behavior or why A behaves differently from B. And these factors, these biological factors or biological dynamics are one, genetics. Genetics. A whole lot of behavioral traits are inherited from our parents through genes. You will see A behaving different from B because A's father behaves the same way. Secondly, sex difference or sex differences. There are certain behaviors that are only feasible and are seen in males as differentiated from females. It will look absurd now when you see a male, uh, a male Muslim wearing hijab, which is a peculiar way of dress that is, sex inclined. It is purely for females. Now, the third biological factor dynamic is the physical growth. Some persons have stunted growth, some have, rapid growth, and each of these growth has effect in the way an individual behave. People with stunted growth have the tendency of exhibiting what we call inferiority complex. And people with very rapid growth too, far higher than their regular ages, also feel the same inferiority complex, because behaviors are attributed to these various, parameters. Nutrition is another biological factor. Nutrition. One who eats well is quite different from one who does not eat well, and it's going to reflect in the way they behave. One who eats well and who feels well will appear good and look calm. One who does not eat well as a result of poverty may not necessarily be calm, gets angry, gets infuriated easily, gets too emotional easily. Nutrition. Illness and disability. Illness too can determine one's behavior, whether you behave well or not. It's a function of your state of health, you know. And these are the various biological factors, various biological dynamics. Now, the second is the psychological dynamics. Psychological dynamics. And these are various psychological factors that regulate human behavior that tend to answer the question, why is it behaving the other? I mean, uh, why is A behaving as different from the other person, from B? First of such psychological factors is what we call cognition. Cognition. We grow with different mental states, and our mental state sometimes determines how we behave and how we react or respond to issues as they come. Perception. We see things differently. A see things not North Pole, South, B see things South Pole. They cannot see things the same way. And so that determines the way they behave too. They won't behave the same way because they don't see things the same way. Emotion, severally we express emotions differently. You know, moody emotion, violent emotion, you know, very calm emotion. They are indices of exhibition of behavioral pattern, attitude. What attitude does A have to certain variables that differentiate A from B? That is also another important psychological dynamic. Memory, that people, individuals with long-term memory and that individual with short-term memory, and they will react and behave separately to issues that needed remembrance. So you have people, some persons are inclined to remembering things easily, some are inclined to forgetting things easily. They are behavioral indices, and these are attached to psychological dynamics. Social cultural dynamics is another very important dynamics, very important determinants of human behavior. What are these social cultural dynamics? They are social factors that impact human behavior, and such includes social norms and values. Social norms and values. Social norms and values. There are norms and values that are peculiar to certain community that differentiate that community from any other one, and so they cannot behave the same way. Social status. There are individuals who have come from high socioeconomic status, and there are individuals who have come from low socioeconomic status. They will, of course, behave differently. The one with high socioeconomic factors has a tendency of being, flamboyant, sometimes being extravagant. The one with from low socioeconomic status has a tendency of, being prudent and very careful, especially in the exhibition of wealth. The impact of technological advancement is yet another very important, very significant social cultural dynamics. Technological advancement. We have, knowledge, and we get knowledge differently. The introduction of technological advancement has actually impacted so many lives positively and so many other lives negatively. Depends on how we have actually received those technological advancements. Family structure is another sociocultural dynamics. There are individuals from nuclear family, there are individuals from extended family, there are individuals from compound family. They can't behave the same way. They can't behave the same way. Religious beliefs. We have the Muslims, the Christians, we have the traditional believers. They believe in different things, and that their belief also, dictates the way they behave, the way they react to certain things. Economic status. Economic status. People who have the best of life in terms of wealth would behave differently from people who are managing, who are in impoverished. So these are the basic things. Tradition and customs. The way we greet in Igbo land is different from the way that we greet in Yoruba land. Greeting is a form of exhibition of behavior. Of course, people will behave differently. I like to uh, uh, say this, and unequivocally too, that when we look at these three significant dynamics critically, we will now see that there is no way we behave that could be termed to be totally normal, or that could be termed to be totally abnormal. It is a function of which one is superseding or overwhelmingly taking over the other in the lives of individuals. I'd like to thank you very sincerely for your attention this afternoon. And this is where I'm going to be drawing the curtain. I'm still your very regular anchor and shift therapist, Dr. Tunji Abiola. I'll see you next week. And by the grace of God, then we'll be looking at what constitutes a normal behavior and what constitutes an abnormal behavior. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Rollout Therapeutic TV for more exciting edition. I'll see you next week. Bye.